January 31st, 2019. I'm with one of my go-to guys for the NBA, Worldwide West. Wes, what's on your mind concerning the NBA tonight?
Well, for starters, I would like to talk about Kristaps Porzingis being traded from your Knicks. Wondering what's going to happen with him and Luka Doncic.
Uh-oh, so you're outing me as a Knicks fan, huh? No worries, no worries. Yeah, no, I am a Knicks fan, hardcore. I didn't. I'm not a big believer in Dennis Smith. I thought Knicks gave up. I'm not a big believer in trading draft picks, even when it's for someone Williamson. Who the Knicks have no guarantee of getting because the NBA is a lottery, right? So you got teams like Cleveland and teams like Phoenix that'll be in the running for him. And then DeAndre Jordan, no offensive skills whatsoever. Intimidator, but we already had Enes Kanter, who was averaging more than 10 boards a night going into tonight. So to me, this is just another example of Mark Cuban fleecing the rest of the league. Your thoughts on the trade?
I really feel like I think it's going well for Mark Cuban because he's making a splash like he's supposed to. He's always been known to do that. It's been a few years since the Mavericks have really been title chasing contenders, and I think that the time has come. Me being a Warriors fan, I have no bias. No bias by saying that. No bias by saying that. And I really feel like they got the players they needed by Hardaway Jr. They got a good guard. I really feel like they needed to press that. And also, I feel like New York did what they needed to do to get out of bad contracts. But in turn, they took contracts on that I don't think they're going to like in the future, though. Just being thought.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And I'll say I thought Luka Doncic was the best player in last year's draft, right? You add Porzingis, a guy who might be better than Zion Williamson. I know that's not the party line right now, but the bottom line is he's a proven NBA talent. Let's look back at some of the guys picked in last year's draft. Everyone was hot and bothered over Marvin Bagley. What's he doing? Mo Bamba, what's he doing? Trey Young looks promising, but he's not on your All-Star ballot.
Right.
So to me, the draft is too risky. I'd rather get a proven vet. Porzingis, if he can get healthy, I think is going to put the Mavs back, let's say, within range of the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In other words, it's the West. Teams like the Clippers are barely qualifying for the playoffs today. So I'm just guessing that, the Mavs would be in the running. This is the kind of team that might have Dirk Nowitzki decide he's going to lounge around for another year. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dennis Smith is a guy who is a dunker. He sells tickets. He doesn't get you wins.
You're right.
And right, you know what I'm saying. And the Knicks are probably the worst run team in the league. I say this as a Knicks fan from the 70s, right? Probably the worst run team in the league. I don't know how you could have a big city like this that's as glamorous and as attractive as New York is and be struggling to make the playoffs. I mean, every year. Right. You know what I mean? Let me also say to you, you mentioned you're a Warriors fan. People need to realize that this is a Northern California-based podcast, right? In other words, nobody here is wearing Laker gear, right? Golden State, it's underrepresented. I keep hearing about AD going to the Lakers.
Right.
My point of view is who cares? I don't, I'm not concerned about LeBron. I'm not concerned about LeBron with AD. Those guys can't beat the Golden State Warriors. Then you pitch in the fact that LA is going to have to de-arm itself. They're going to have to get rid of Alonzo Ball, Kuzma, Ingram, right, just to get AD. Seems to me that they're gutting that team. And if I were one of these free agents, I wouldn't want to go to LA.
Right.
Now we talked about this earlier, and you pointed out a scenario where the Warriors could be hurt.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, 2016 brings up bad memories for me. One one having Draymond Green suspended for a game, one having Curry hurt prior to the finals, coming back for the finals, not being at 100%, and there until lies, the pin inside of the lion's foot. You can have all that talent, but if that talent is not on the floor, it creates a vacuum. And I feel like if this were the case, knock on wood, if this were the case, it would be hard for someone like KD just to take completely over the Warriors team and work in a Warriors fashion in order to win. I don't see that. I see him playing, for lack of a better term, hero ball. Rather than actually keeping the ball moving, because we've seen little segments of this in the last year or so, and that's what I feel can be the ultimate downfall. But then again, I'm gonna recant that by saying we had just picked up Boogie Cousins, and he is a monster,
Oh,
monster of a
man,
pace.
no, right, right. I think earlier too, you mentioned the one scenario, and it's the only scenario I'm concerned about, other than injury, where the Lakers might hurt the Warriors would be if Laker announcer Michael Thompson's son Clay goes to LA, right?
Yes,
I think that would be a real stupid move by him. I get the feeling he's just throwing dad a bone by even having people mention the possibility, right? In other words, if I'm a Laker fan and Michael Thompson is with my team and we need a dead eye shooter, Clay Thompson's going to be on the list, right?
exactly,
But
exactly.
but the Warriors are about to move in a Chase Center, brand new arena. You and I know that if Clay stays with the Warriors, not only does he have a great shot at more rings if KD stays with the Warriors, but he also has a shot at getting a statue outside the arena, being remembered as part of one of the dominant teams. There's nothing that LA can offer him. And I don't mean to diss the Lakers too much. I'm a big fan of LeBron's, but there's nothing the Lakers could offer him that comes remotely close to what the Warriors are offering him, right? LeBron's 34 years old. He has a groin injury. I'm just telling people that George Gervin never lost his shot. Never.
Right,
The way a lot of these guys end up out the league, Jamal Mashburn, right? These guys were still ballers, but the problem is you hit a certain age where you start getting groin problems.
right,
That trick elbow never quite heals. You know what I'm saying? So I look at LeBron, and I'm sure LeBron spends $1.5 million on his body and stuff like that.
mhm,
You and I know that if he starts breaking down, right, this could get chronic quickly.
right.
You know what I'm saying, right? Most of these ballers, I think we're fooled when we see a Kobe Bryant and, or Tom Brady in the NFL last
Yes,
forever. That's not the way it goes. You remember Peyton Manning one day looked like the man. The next day, the dude had a neck problem. Then he just started deteriorating, was never quite the same.
right.
You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah,
I'm Clay, Curry, KD, they're younger
right,
than LeBron. Why would I want to risk my future on LeBron?
right. I feel the same way too about the whole New York situation for the Knicks, because
Yes.
that no serious in all seriousness, they
Yeah.
just freed up a lot of money, so they have over 70 million in cap space. What does that create? Two max space players. They have the ability to buy to hire two max players. So that means that even though I don't see any reason why KD would leave the Warriors, there is the possibility of getting paid, because I do recall at the beginning of this year, Kevin Durant said, no matter what, I want to get paid this year, and I'm going to get paid this year, full amount, as much as I can. And even though the Warriors are the only team that can pay him everything that he wants, that is the case because you can only get max contracts with the team you're already with. Now that being the case, but if he did decide to go to New York, he would have the ability to have somebody else come with him, like a Kyrie or somewhat. So I'm not saying that it's completely plausible, but it's worth talking about.
Yeah, I'll say this. The Knicks don't know what the hell haven't for years, ever since the end of the Marcus Camby era. And I'll just say, I mean, take the guys they finally gave up on. Tim Hardaway Jr. First off, Dad was a better player, one man's opinion. But he was just a 3-and-D guy. You know what I mean? In other words, the Knicks get these guys with names. So you're a fan and you're thinking, oh, Tim Hardaway, oh, wow, he has a son that played. His son played at Michigan. And then you go see the guy and the guy has holes. Well, the Knicks are about to get a bunch of money, and I'm hearing that the Knicks are thinking about getting guys like Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
What's Kyrie Irving supposed to do for us? I I know this is a minority opinion here, but I think the Celtics operate better with Terry Rozier. You know, Kyrie is a guy who's sensitive. You know that because he walked
Absolutely.
away from LeBron, right? This is a brother who's sensitive. Now I'll agree LeBron doesn't win that ring without Kyrie Irving. I'll agree the brother has a lot of talent. I'll agree the brother is, highly thought of, right? But doesn't he have like a pin in his knee or something like that? Hasn't
He does have a reconstructed, I believe it's ankle or knee.
Oh, gee, man. And didn't the guy already say that he doesn't plan to play that long? And
Yes.
so so I'm looking at Kyrie Irving, and to me, there's too high of an unreliability factor there. We'll just call it as it is. He can't just lead a team by himself because he was in Cleveland and they were floundering before LeBron got there. You know what I'm saying? And the Knicks, if they get Kyrie Irving, wow, if I'm KD, am I going to leave Curry and Boogie and, Draymond to go play with Kyrie Irving and Dennis Smith, who doesn't know how to pass the basketball?
Right.
That seems a little bit ridiculous. You know, I'll believe it when I see it. I think KD right now hasn't signed a contract because he just wants to be recruited. He wants a team to tell him, hey, man, we want you, blah, blah, blah. We're going to give you, you know, top dollar. You know what I'm saying? Because he gave the team a break. But I'm not convinced that he wants to leave.
Yeah.
Certainly not to the Knicks. You know
Right.
what I mean? I mean, I if he goes to the Knicks, I'll view that like I view LeBron going to the Lakers. I personally feel LeBron's retired right now. I think this is a dude at the end of his career who says, "Hey, I want to be in a big city with great entertainment and business opportunities." Um, you know what I mean? I think he's given up trying to win rings. I know that's not how they're selling it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But KD goes to New York. He's walking away from competitive basketball. That's the way I look at it.
Right. And I feel the same way. I completely say that there's nothing that New York can give Kevin Durant that he doesn't already have in the Bay Area. And like as far
Right.
as maybe the fact that New York is a big picture area, big public area, everybody sees it, you're in the spotlight 24/7 as comparison to, like you said, the Warriors who are undercut in every segment that they're in. I agree with you. It's just I don't want to go so far as saying East Coast bias, but I think there's an underlining I don't know, say disenchantment with Oakland rather than LA, rather than New York, even go so far as to say Miami, and that's fine. That's fine. But let's not forget that even though the things aren't as in the public eye from the Bay Area, there is so many opportunities here in the Silicon Valley. And that's what I think
Right.
that I think that's what keeps a player with Kevin Durant's stature around here.
Right. No, right. I think the Bay Area is a jewel. I don't think people in the country understand how robust the economy is up here. You just think of the tech sector, and Kevin Durant is an investor who invests in tech companies. People need to get the backstory, right? So you have Apple, Bay Area, Google, Bay Area, just those two. You're one of the elite areas in the country. right? Then you got Oracle, you got eBay. There are just too many Bay Area companies to mention. And if you're a young multimillionaire and you're up here and you're clubbing and you're seeing the bridges and stuff like that, very few areas in the country can compete. Very few. And all I'm saying is New York, for all it has, you know you're not winning basketball games there. You know what I mean? Just think of the Carmelo Anthony era, right? The highlight of that is probably the Jeremy Lin period. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, all I'm saying is
Yeah.
Boston, guys like Jason Tatum, Danny Ainge, first off, is one of the best GMs in professional sports, not just the NBA. Then I look at that Boston team. I'm seeing young guys left and right. I'm seeing, you know, dudes who are tough. The Knicks don't have anyone like Marcus Morris.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And this guy's lost in the mix in Boston because Boston has so much talent.
Right.
And right, then I look at Toronto. You and I talked about this privately. World-class city. That's another city that's tremendous fan base, but they're winning basketball games. They're going
Yeah.
to have the edge on the Knicks for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Especially if the Knicks are doing dumbass moves like getting rid of Porzingis for Dennis Smith. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. It's like you and I are about winning basketball games, not dunks and making ESPN. I don't care about that. So the Knicks have a problem covering. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Philly in the East too. If Philly just keeps Simmons and Embiid, they don't even need to keep Jimmy Butler. They're going to be ahead of the Knicks for years.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
You know,
Yeah. So if I'm KD, yeah, I'm not moving.
I feel like maybe the Knicks actually got rid of Kristoff not simply because they wanted to dump him or anything, it's because they wanted to dump the other contracts. You know,
Right.
the Hardaways, the other guard. You know, I'm sorry, forgive me. I feel like that was the case because
Oh, every Nick in the deal is overpaid, right? Tim Hardaway Jr. is overpaid. Um, let's just say the Knicks, what they gave away. You're right. They gave away many bad contracts. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. So they were doing that, and the cover was and the cost, as they say, was Kristoff, and that's where I think that gets lost in the shuffle. That's what I think was really happening because they didn't take on that bad of contracts. They just took on players that they probably are not going to be able to sell tickets with.
Right, right. I think Cuban is back in business with this deal. I
Absolutely.
think he has Luka Doncic on a rookie salary for years. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
And Luka does everything. So does Porzingis,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now all they need to do is just replace Dirk,
Mm-hmm.
flesh out the rest of the team, and you're set for a while. You know what I'm saying?
But
Yeah.
they're
So
they're putting Dirk and Luca and Kristoff as like the centerpiece towards the end of the year. Like that's what they're trying to sell off. Because of course Dirk's going to be this is his final year, obviously. But I think they're going with a theme. I think it's like East Europe because you can see, you know what I mean. It's a connection. It's a European connection over there. And where would it be? Of all places, Dallas. That right there is so.
right, right. And I think the NBA is more global than these other sports, right? They're balling in Europe. You got the Euro League. They're balling in Asia,
Mhm.
right? Guys like Stephon Marbury went over there, had a full career and stuff like that.
Tracy McGrady.
Right. And so I think that Cuban billionaire is thinking global,
Mhm.
and he's put together the squad. You know
Yeah,
what
I
I'm saying?
agree. I agree.
So right, and then the two first round picks that he gave the Knicks,
One
as
of
I
them, one of them protected, the other one not protected.
yeah, but again, it's like the NBA draft. Man, it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pick great players. Even DeAndre Ayton looks like he's going to be a star,
Hmm.
but he's not dominant right now. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And, some of the other guys, Mo Bamba is going
Hmm.
to have to get an offensive game to be relevant. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And in college, this guy looked like $1 million.
Hmm.
So I'm all for players leaving college early or even skipping college if they can.
Right.
But the flip side of that is these guys don't have games.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know.
What do you
And
what are your thoughts? I don't mean to skip subjects, but
oh, skip it.
since we're talking about game, what do you think about Cousins fitting in to the Warriors? I just wanted to ask you that.
I think the Warriors have a historical opportunity here. I told you the other day I was watching them against Boston, a team that is on the very short list of being viable to win the Eastern Conference. And they had a fast break where Cousins was the lead guard, took the ball down the field, and then tossed it over to KD, who did not have to break stride. Um, I understand there's a salary cap. I understand that these teams want to make money, and fans could only afford so much, right? I can't charge a fan $500 for a ticket.
Can't
But
you
if
in Oakland and San Francisco? Can't you?
you know what, you could, but let me just say, I think that's hurt sports because I remember when I used to go to Giant games years ago and stuff like that. The tickets were affordable. You could actually buy food.
Yeah.
You know, so you would, yeah. So you would go to the park. You'd have beers. You'd have food. It was easy eats and stuff like that. Now you go there. The fans next to you barely know the players. In other words, it's no longer Die Hard Candlestick. It's AT&T Park or wherever they play now, right? But whatever
Yeah.
they're calling the new park. I don't even know the name of the park. That's how different times are.
AT&T. It's AT&T.
And the problem is, everything's so expensive, and you're thinking, man, if they're going to hit me, and people nationwide need to know this, they charge you $40 to park at San Francisco Giant games, right? Now,
And it's 80 plus during the playoffs.
oh man. And so all I'm saying is, hey, I'm a baseball guy. I love baseball. I'm not going to baseball games that often anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Used to be that you just grab a bunch of fellas and you'd say, hey, let's go to the game, and no one thought about it. Now you say, hey, let's go to the game. Guys have to say, hey, man, I only have a few dollars. You know what I mean? Now the money matters, right? And so it's expensive at Chase Center anyway, right? It's going to be expensive. And, if I'm the ownership, I give the fans a break. I make most of the money off the TV rights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let the networks pay me rather than charge the fans. In fact, they need to go to that model in more sports. You need to have more $15 tickets out there than the big tickets. So I've never seen a Warrior team this talented. And Boogie isn't even in basketball shape. He's a dude who has a bad, Achilles that he's just recovering from, right? But the bottom line is, think about the Warrior teams. You had guys like Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes wouldn't make this team,
No.
And he's starting for the Mavs, who we've been praising, right? Jaja Petrulia, he wouldn't hang on this team.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Not
So
even
it's
Monte
like,
Ellis.
right. Not even Monte. And so all I'm saying is, this team, if they stay together, and you and I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes, it's not good, right? If Clay's even thinking about going to LA, something's happening in the locker room. But if this team can just stay together, man, it's a dynasty for at least another, 2 years minimum. You know what I mean? For the gamblers out there, the one team that intrigues me, if you're going to set up a hedge, are the Houston Rockets, simply because Harden is the MVP this year. Chris Paul's coming back. You got Clint Capella back. That team stretched Golden State to 7 games last year, right? Contrast that with LeBron's Cavaliers that got swept in 4. Think about it. People are talking about AD joining up with LeBron in LA. And I'm just telling you, the way LeBron plays, Kevin Love adds more value than AD, right? Because Kevin Love has 3-point range. And Love with Kyrie Irving, right? Because people are talking about a Kyrie LeBron reunion. With Kyrie and LeBron, only went 5 games against this Warrior team without Boogie Cousins, right?
Yeah.
With Boogie, that's another sweep. You understand what I'm saying? So LA, stick a fork in them. I'll say this too. And players need to think about this. For all the stars that the Warriors have, all the stars, they know the head coach is Steve Kerr,
Yeah.
right? In other words, they go in the locker room, there's a certain equality among stars. They understand there's a power structure. LA, this is yet another team where LeBron's coming in and he wants Luke Walton out and he's trying to get the coach replaced and stuff like that. If I'm another superstar, that's not where I want to play. I mean, how do you how do you feel about it? And I know Michael got a coach fired. I know Magic got Paul Westhead fired and stuff like that. But it just seems to me that LeBron showed up in LA 5 minutes ago, and already, you know, you know, he has Luke Walton on the hot seat. You know what I'm saying? According to reports, right? AD signs with his agent. Now AD is announcing that he wants to leave New Orleans, right? It
Well,
just seems like LeBron's running the team, not Magic.
well, ask yourself this truthfully: if LA acquires AD, is Luke Walton still on the hot seat?
You know what? I think he is, man, because I think, unfortunately, Clutch Sports is running that franchise now, right?
Right.
Um, Luke Walton has a fan, and it's an important one. It's Jeannie Buss,
Yes, the
who,
biggest fan.
right? The biggest fan. But all I'm saying is, um, just sounds to me like LeBron isn't vibing with Luke Walton. And AD, when he shows up, he's going to be doing things the LeBron way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if Ty Lue doesn't suddenly show up on a Lakers sideline. And
Oh, that's a really good idea. Or Blatt or David Blatt.
right, well, I'll say this: I think that kills morale. I think the thing with the Warriors that I like is Draymond loses it on the court with KD and they yell at each other and stuff like that. But implicit is that there's a Bill Belichick type, you know, line of authority. You know what I'm saying? And Steve Kerr was able to say, hey, look, I'm not going to take sides, basically, right? These guys will work it out. And nobody demanded that he get fired. Now, I wonder if that would have happened with the Lakers if Brandon Ingram got upset with LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, also, there's this LeVar Ball thing in the background. If I wanted to go to LA, it would be with the Clippers. Give me Jerry West. Give me,
Yeah.
Clippers have a better record as it is. In fact, the teams are playing tonight. Um, you know, I don't know why I would pick the Lakers. In 2 years, LeBron's going to be an older guy, right? Because think about how Kobe fell off at the end, right?
Yeah.
LeBron's going to be an older guy. He's no longer going to be LeBron. If you're AD or if you're Kyrie Irving and you show up in LA and you find out that you're having a problem beating San Antonio, beating Portland, beating Houston, if you find out that the Warriors are too far in front of you, right? Then it's going to be like Carmelo with the Knicks, isn't it?
Right. Right.
Yeah, so
Or Carmelo with Houston, where it just doesn't work.
right. No, right. I feel bad for Carmelo. Um, Players are the last to know that it's over,
Yeah.
right? And the guy's in his 30s and he's not a defensive wizard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the shooting now is over the top in the league. Right? You got a bunch of dudes who are hitting high 30s, low 40s from three and stuff like that. I don't even think Carmelo's jump shot is that exemplary anymore compared to some of the other guys I can get. I can go out and I can get a Joe Harris, the guy who's on the Nets. You know what I mean? And have a dude shooting, 38, 39, 40% from three. I don't need to pay max money to have Carmelo, ball-centric dude, do that.
Would
You
you
know?
would you be interested in somebody like Carmelo working with Dallas though? Because Dallas can use somebody like Carmelo who can take the ball up the court with or without a shot, with or without help. Even though he's not exactly, even though he's a defensive liability, I completely understand that. But what they got going on in Dallas, you got to keep your eye on that. You know what I mean? You put a couple, wily veterans in there. You could become early stages of the Warriors. When we had the Flash, when we first got Iguodala before we got everybody else. We had a wily team. That 2015 Warriors team was a wily team, and their motto was strength in numbers. And that's kind of what's going on in LA. That's really what's going on, not in Lakers, but with the Clippers. That's what's going on. It's strength in
Oh
numbers.
no, right. I
And
like
and,
I like the way the Clippers are built.
and you
Hmm.
see the similarities because who was in charge of the 2015 Warriors?
Right. No, no, Jerry. Right. Yeah, Jerry West. And
Think about that.
right, right. I'll say I look at the Clippers, Tobias Harris and Patrick Beverly and dudes like that, and they remind me of the New England Patriots. In other words, they have a bunch of guys who are above average, but you don't think of them as superstars.
Right.
You know what I mean? Shea, the first round pick, and they just mesh well.
Well,
I also, yeah, I also get the feeling too that Jerry quietly ships out players who
mm-hmm.
he feels are a little bit past their prime. Think about it. Under his watch, CP3 gone,
Gone.
right? CP3 got the big money, but CP3, who was out for a portion of last year, right? Houston loses game 6 and 7 because CP3 is not playing against the Warriors, right? He's
Right.
out now. Hamstrings are hard to heal. He's just coming back. They ship him out. They get rid of Blake Griffin. I know
Right.
Griffin's putting up numbers. He's now a three-point shooter with the Pistons, right?
Right.
But think about it. They get rid of him. They get rid of DeAndre Jordan. In other words, they got rid of the core guys, the guys making commercials for the Clippers.
Right.
And you mean to tell me that right now they're the eighth seed in the West? In other words, Jerry understands Tobias Harris is hopelessly undervalued. You know what I mean? Didn't they get
Yeah.
Avery Bradley too? And they
Yeah.
got Lou Williams, who's, they got under contract
They
cheap and
got some
stuff
sweet
like that.
shooters.
Oh, if I'm Kawhi Leonard, somebody's going to have to explain to me what the Lakers are offering that the Clippers aren't offering.
Right.
Because in terms of wins, right, I have wins. I got Doc Rivers as a head coach, right? A guy who players look at and they know he's played in the league. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? He's won a ring. So I have a coach who's won a ring. I have a guy behind the scenes in Jerry West, who's a basketball Hall of Famer who averaged 27 a game or something for his career. I have one of the most deep-pocketed owners in the game, and
Yeah.
Steve Ballmer, right? Deep-pocketed. Um, that's the play for me. In other words, obviously I have money on the Clippers tonight against the Lakers, wink, wink. But the Clippers, to me, are the team that warrant more attention from gamblers. The
Right.
Lakers are the team that dominate the papers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, and LA has that problem in general. I know the Rams were in the Super Bowl and stuff like that. You and I know that the Chargers remain one of the most loaded teams.
Right.
Nobody really talks about the Chargers, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're a gambler, you need to know about the Chargers, right? Chargers won a game in the playoffs this year. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I know we're up over half an hour. I'll let you give your closing thoughts and stuff soon, but yeah, that's the team I like. The Clippers out
Mm-hmm.
west. Don't get me wrong; they're not going to challenge the Warriors until guys leave the Warriors, right? Clay has to leave, KD has to leave, and stuff like that. If you
Draymond.
have right, I don't think the team is silly enough to let Draymond leave. And Draymond's a Tom Brady type guy. He'll leave money on the table.
Yeah.
So given that he's part of their death lineup, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's part of their death lineup. He's still the best defender on that team, right?
Right.
If he's willing to give the team a hometown discount, how could you have him leave? He also is a player who, behind the scenes, was good friends with KD, helped recruit him. You know what I mean? People know he's all in. I think Draymond, I think Curry, they never leave. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? They never leave.
But you never
It
said the word Clay.
You know what? The fact that Michael Thompson does Laker games worries me. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Clay leaves because Clay has big money with some Asian sneaker manufacturer, and the Bay Area is like a dream spot for a guy in that position. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
A vibrant Asian community up here. But if if he were to leave, that would be tragic because he's probably the second best defender on the team. I know his shot's not dropping this year, but he's a great defender. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. No, he's
And
explosive. He's explosive.
right, if he does leave though,
Uh,
then you can just say to KD, here's the max. You know, even though you're in your 30s, here's the max. You know, I can then say to Boogie, hey, player, don't go to the airport yet. You know, what if we give you the max? In other words, even if Clay leaves, and it would be a hit, I'm not saying it's not a hit, right? But you would still have Curry, Boogie, KD, and Draymond.
yeah,
I still think you have enough to win the West.
and Dre and Kate. I'm sorry, Boogie Cousins. He actually went on report and said, no matter what happens this year, I'm still gonna wait out another year and take the minimum to stay with Golden State until he says he gets everything in order.
Oh, let me tell you, I once read a book, changed my life. I'm serious about this. It was like in the 1980s. It was Jim Brown, um, the running back. He wrote a book called Out of Bounds. And he was talking about the best back I ever saw, Eric Dickerson. I'm just telling people if Dickerson stays with the Rams, the
Mm.
running back position's redefined in the NFL. He rewrites the record book. As it was, he finished with the second biggest number of yards when he retired. Um, and Jim Brown said, you know what Eric needs to understand is that the big money is off the field,
Yeah.
right? Well, all I'm saying to you is if Boogie Cousins wins a ring, if he looks around the locker room and his crew stays there with him. In other words, KD's there, Curry's there, Clay's there,
Draymond.
John's there, right? All I'm saying is think about the money that brother's going to get. He's going to have so much endorsement money. Think about also how that's going to set him up for later life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where, you know, you win rings and stuff like that. You end up on these announcing teams. People, you know, are giving you the VIP treatment and stuff like that. If
Yeah.
I'm Boogie, I would threaten to leave, just like I would if I were KD, just to get top dollar. You know what I mean? Once they offer me top dollar, I'm not going anywhere. He just played with AD. They were struggling in New Orleans, right? Didn't they have Drew Holiday too?
Yes, they did.
Come on. I mean, you know, and they were struggling. In other words, there are no guarantees in this league. Now here he is on a team where your boy Steph Curry, career 43% from three. Career, right? Where KD, career 49% from the floor. You know what I'm saying? He's never going to be around this level of supporting cast ever again for the rest of his life. No one's as old as LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Also, you have a coach who has rings himself, right?
Yes.
You have stability in terms of the ownership. Your boy Joe Lacob, Kleiner Perkins, hedge fund guy, has a lot of money outside of the Warriors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
it's if I'm Boogie, no part of the country, seriously, can give me what I have here.
And
None.
that's what he said. He said no matter what's going on, he's all, I'll take the minimum again just to stay on the team because he likes the cohesion of the team. He says he likes the way that the team plays. He likes the
Oh,
way you know.
that's what I would do. I mean, in fact, if I'm David West, who the team could use, quite frankly, if I'm David West and he gave the team a break, you remember he was playing for the minimum, I would be begging the Warriors for a tryout. In other words, if you get those five guys together, you're going to have Sean Livingston back, I'm sure, Iguodala back. My point to you is you're going to have some veterans who just want to be part of a historical team. You don't have that opportunity that often. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Boogie, what I like with KD is KD came, look at his numbers. They didn't take a hit because he's playing with guys who know how to play basketball. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Play off the
So,
ball.
right. So I get the feeling that, Boogie right now is understanding that he stays with the Warriors. He can actually work on that outside shot. When he gets the ball, teams are so busy dealing with Curry, Durant, who won 4 scoring titles, Clay, who has one of the best outside shots too, that I'm sure Boogie's dealing with one defender,
Right.
right? Whereas in Sacramento, they probably had what, 2 guys on him at all times, three in
Sometimes
clutch
even three.
situations. Right.
Sometimes
No.
even three.
So if I'm him, I'm with you. I stay here. People act like he's giving up big money. See what Nike can do for you off the court. You know what I'm saying? Talk with some of these guys. Also, I believe Kobe has made huge money in retirement. Some of the investments he made have returned big money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you're up here in the Bay Area, and you got all these hedge funds and stuff like that. These guys are all accredited investors. In other words, they have the money, they have the net worth to be an accredited investor. They should have financial managers telling them how to be accredited investors. So if I'm Boogie, and if I end up hearing about, new startups and stuff like that, where you have the usual cast of characters investing in it, right? Peter Thiel, etc. Um, no place is going to be able to pay me what I would get here. You know what I'm saying?
Also, how would you feel opening up a new arena next year, Chase Center? So that's also an alluring thing. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That's
right by the water. I hope people understand that Chase Center, you're going to be able to see the bridge. You know
yes.
what I'm saying? And so this is going to be glamorous. It's just like AT&T Park when they opened it, right? This is going to be glamorous. It's right on the Embarcadero, right? And so Staples Center, downtown LA, can't compete.
Can't compete.
Sacramento is just not the glamour city, right? Sacramento is just not the glamour city that San Francisco is. Other teams have other issues. Portland, their owner just died. You know what I'm saying? So in terms of ownership continuity, the way, Chase, if you're in the Bay Area, you've got a ball when you build an arena. It has to be high tech. It has to deliver. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I think the Warriors just moving from East Bay to where they're going to play are probably going to appreciate in value by $250 billion. I'm
Wow.
just, well, I mean, geez,
They're playing in one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
Yeah, no, I think it's maybe the 250 is a little bit high, but it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of
No,
money. You know what
I
I
get
mean?
it.
Right. $250 million.
Yeah.
Uh, that sounds like it's in the ballpark. And with every ring they get, I mean, this is like Showtime in the 80s.
Yeah.
With every ring they get, the value of the business goes up and stuff like that. So, you and I are in the Bay Area. We've seen these 49ers. Jerry Rice always has a place here, right?
Always.
Joe Montana always has a place here. Right,
Always.
right. Ronnie Lott, right.
Always.
Well, think about it. That 1980s Niner dynasty was 30 odd years ago.
Yeah.
Um, if Boogie stays here and they continue the dominance for another 3 or 4 years, and that's a distinct possibility, right? Because James Harden's never going to learn defense. Let's just call it as it is, right?
LeBron's
And
getting older.
LeBron's getting older, and all I'm saying is I like Marcus Morris. I like Jalen Brown. I like a bunch of the guys on the Celtics, but these are young guys compared to the Warriors. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Curry and company have another 3-4 years left minimum before they get to mid 30s.
Right.
So it's like if I'm Boogie, I don't leave this ever. I mean, I know, I know this would upset players union people, but if I'm talking to the Warriors and they said we'll give you $20 million a year, I'm like, hey, that's a done deal. Just give me a player option for the second year. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I get the 20, and then every year we can revisit this. You know
yeah,
what I mean? That's what Jordan started doing, signing 1 year deals.
yeah.
You know, yeah. The
That's
last thing
essentially
brothers
what
should
Kevin
do is
Durant did last year.
right, right. So now KD wants to get paid. Look, I don't blame KD. He's one of the dominant players, really in NBA history. I haven't seen a 7-footer with his level of accuracy. I think people don't understand that the guy career is up in the high 80s from the free throw line and has the 4 scoring titles and is already a 2-time MVP of the finals. You know what I'm saying? So the dude is off the page, and you know, you and I talked about this, and I know you disagree with this, but to me, the Warriors need to pay the luxury tax.
You know,
If I'm, Mhm.
I've come to terms with that though. I've come to terms with that because, you know, in reality, they're never going to have this situation that they have this year.
Right,
They're
never, never,
never going to have that situation ever.
right. That's the way I look at it, and you know, all I'm saying is, no kid coming out of college anytime soon is going to have the accomplished game of the starting 5 of the Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean? Draymond might be viewed as less glamorous than the other guys. You go to probasketballreference.com right now, they look at his stats in historical context, and they claim that he has something like a 30% chance of making the Hall of Fame. So you're telling me that the guy who's not the big time scorer on the team has a 1 in 3 chance of making the Hall of Fame. Also, let's face it, in terms of big man, he's one of the premier passing big men in the league. Just look at
Yeah.
the assists, right? So, you know, I look at the Lakers and struggling dudes like Kyle Kuzma, talent, but
Mhm.
still struggling to play defense, struggling to pass. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, you know, when's the light going to go on for that brother? You know, when would he even approach a Draymond Green? And I
Right.
think, right, you understand. And the fact that Draymond is a guy who can yell at the coach and you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
be emotional, yell at KD, and people understand, you know, they don't even hesitate. They know Draymond's about the team.
Yeah.
To me, that makes him invaluable. You know what I mean? In other words, Draymond's not about himself. We were talking about Kyrie Irving earlier. Who knows what Kyrie's real allegiance is to Boston? I saw an interview the other day with Danny Ainge where he said, I think Kyrie likes Boston, right? Danny Ainge doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? With Draymond Green, he's going to be a warrior until they carry him out in a morgue.
Till they kick him out of the building.
Right, right. That's the point because he understands more than anybody else what they have. You know what
Right.
I mean? And as for Clay, there's a story that's part of Warrior folklore where Jerry West was in a room and they were discussing trading Clay for Kevin Love. And Jerry supposedly said, you do that, I'm out of here. Right? You know, I'm going to quit if you trade Clay for Kevin Love, right? Clay Thompson's one of the best defending twos. People don't give the Warriors enough credit for their defense, right? Defensively, they're a better team than the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? So if any guy leaves the Warrior building right now to join some team like LA or something like that, they'd be leaving a hell of a lot on the table. You
Yeah.
know, right?
Like something like 2 or 3 rings.
Right. No, that's the way I look at it because I think they're a minus 200. Forget what you and I say. Vegas on NBA futures right now have them as a minus 200, and we're still at the tail end of January. So if I bet $100 on a futures for them to win the title, I only win $50 back with the return of my 100, right? The line's crazy because the team is that good. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you don't leave that caboose because when we talk about the 80s now, for example, what do we talk about? We talk about Showtime. We talk about Bird McHale Parish. We talk about the Bad Boys,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
that's how we define eras, right? The 90s, it's Elijah Wan and Houston. Then you got Shaq and Kobe,
Yeah.
right? Right? Why would some player lead that?
Yeah.
You know, I don't get it. When you're getting your numbers, when you're winning Finals MVPs.
But again, I must say again, the reason why is because we don't know what's going on behind the doors. Remember I was telling you earlier last year, before all this KD and Draymond started, we had a conversation. I think it was maybe about 6-7 months ago, and you're like, this is the greatest thing right here. They're taking they you got another MVP. They won another chip. And remember, I tried to explain. I said, well, I've been hearing stirrings that maybe not everything is so nice in Candyland. And then what do we do? What do we see? The first 3 months, here comes Draymond and KD, outing each other basically, on live
Right. You
TV,
were right. You were right on that.
and that's that. Like I told you, that and injuries will hinder us if we can't control that. But if by some magical chance that they they learn or they keep playing with each other for at least the next 2 years, at least the starting five, the next 2 years, we have a great chance of seeing one of the greatest teams ever for the last like a 7 year span.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And I remember you were talking about David West's comments.
Yeah.
You remember he said people don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And right, also JaVale McGee leaving, that was a little bit questionable. You know what I mean? In other words, some guys didn't resign. Pat McCall, you remember he didn't resign and stuff. And so maybe they're not completely friendly or as friendly as they pretend in public. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I gotta tell you, I mean, I'm like, hey, I don't need to be anybody's best friend. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, if I'm showing up to work and I'm winning games and stuff like that, and I'm like, hey, that's cool.
Scotty and Jordan weren't the best of friends.
Here's my family. I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Scotty and Jordan weren't the best of friends.
Right. That's why I always love Mike, because to me, when Dennis Rodman, who, was his own industry, you know what I'm saying? When he showed up to the Bulls, 3 championships in, you knew Mike was never going to mess that up. In other words, Kobe, different personality. Kobe couldn't get along with Shaq, and it impacted the team. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is Jordan and Shaq. Jordan would never lose Shaq. You understand what I'm saying?
No way.
Jordan, it's straight rings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
totally.
he would show up.
Look what he did when he went to Miami.
God, we're not going to get this guy in the draft. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right. Wins the title in
Miami.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Right. Although I will say this, in all fairness, Cuban's team did get a little bit ripped off. Questionable refereeing that Miami championship where Dwayne Wade was MVP.
Yeah.
Oh, that was suspect. That was like Sacramento Kings level suspect.
Oh, was that like what do you call it? Saints suspect, New Orleans bad call suspect?
Oh no, right. That was a terrible call. No, there's no question about it. If I were a Saint fan, I'd be pissed. But at the same time, let's face it, your boy Sean Payton gave away that game. In other words, better clock management.
Don't take that time out. Don't take that time out.
Right. I thought the whole thing, the pass, the the whole thing, the play calling was a little bit too new school. There's a reason why the old school is what it is.
Exactly.
You know what I'm Give me your thoughts on well, I know we're now at 54 minutes. Go ahead and give me your thoughts on the Super Bowl. Who takes it and why?
Well, my wife asked me earlier, who do you have a horse for? Who are you going for? I said, and I'll keep it real with everybody else in the world, I really don't have a leg in this Super Bowl. So what I'm actually looking for is a good game. I want to see Jared Goff, who was a Cal alumni, do as best as he can with that New England defense. And I also, being a 49er fan, I also feel like, a lot of things that Joe did, Tom does as well, very well. So I'm not a Tom Brady hater. I'm just not a big New England fan. But if Tom does well, that Bay Area does well because he's a San Mateo boy. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
like I said, I really don't have a leg in this fight, in this battle. I just want to see a good game, and my the better part of my brain says it's going to be New England 28, LA 21. But my heart, even though I'm not really a big LA fan. If my heart would like to see the youngster come up on top, just to one up New England, because if I recall, New England beat the Rams back when.
Oh no, right, right,
So
no,
I'm just
right.
referencing history. It would be kind of be nice to see the Rams beat New England, to get that back. That's my.
Right. Yeah. I can say too, and I know this is a big cover-up type thing, but these guys used to be on NFL Network, and I know Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk. I heard them myself talk about how they doubted the integrity of that first Super Bowl win.
Right.
By right, you know what I mean? Because this is kind of like the Spygate era. And, Warner's talking about calling plays for the first time all year that they put in for the game. And as he's calling the play, New England's defense was making shifts. They knew what was coming, So I don't think people realize how football used to be in the 70s and 80s, where there was a lot of espionage and
Yes.
stuff like that. You know what I mean? And right, it's just one of those things. But it is a little bit questionable that Goodell destroyed the tapes. You remember when Spygate came out, they destroyed the tapes
Yep.
rather than let the public see what the tape showed and stuff
Yep.
like that. So I'll agree that just from a historical standpoint, I know the Ram organization, and no one wants to look, like they hold grudges. But I know the Ram organization feels that the greatest show on turf, people forget how potent that Ram team was, should have had multiple Super Bowls.
I agree.
I tell you, I was in Vegas and I remember I had some throwaway line where, it was an alternate line or something like that of New England just winning the game. And I remember guys laughing at me because the Rams were huge favorites.
Right.
And I hit on that. Don't get me wrong. I lost on other bets. That wasn't the only line bet I had. I was just betting long shots. But nobody expected that finish. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So, right. And of course, we're here in the Bay Area. It needs to be said too. Raider Nation believes that New England shouldn't even have been in that Super Bowl because of that tough. Oh, that's right. It's like up here,
I don't
the
know
world's
what's
forgotten
worse.
that. I know Charles Woodson hasn't forgotten that play. That was suspect. You
I
know
don't
what
know
I mean?
what's worse, the Oakland Tuck Rule or that call we just saw right here in New Orleans.
Let me just say this. If the Rams go on to a dynasty, if your boy Jared Goff goes on to collect 5 rings, right, then that New Orleans play will start to approach the Tuck situation. Because keep in mind, that starts the Brady dynasty,
Yeah.
right? Brady, right? They end up winning that game. That
Yeah.
game should have been over. They end up winning that game. And, Brady goes on to Super Bowl victory. And you remember back then, too, there was the Drew Bledsoe crowd. People were
Yep.
saying, what the hell are we doing with Tom Brady? And Brady didn't have Bledsoe's numbers. You remember Bledsoe in the playoffs won a game when Brady was hurt.
Yep.
And Brady was a game manager. Bledsoe, number 1 pick in the draft, he was the gunslinger. He had led them to a Super Bowl appearance, at least, under Parcells. You remember when they called Parcells tuna,
Yep.
right? So you had a bunch of people saying, hey, what's this Tom Brady guy even doing quarterbacking? Then he wins that Raider game. And let's just say you and I are here remembering that Raider game later. And of course, Ram fans are remembering that Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Because that is kind of like an odd last drive. You know what I'm saying?
That's how I felt about it, though. That's how I feel. That's my final take. It's just, I would like to see the Rams take it back.
Oh, I'll just say, if you're a Raider fan, that's part of Raider folklore, right? It's like
Yeah.
the Raiders, even young Raider fans, they hear about John Madden, they hear about Kenny Stabler, they hear about Marcus Allen, they hear about that Tuck game. You and I know that. No,
Yeah.
serious. You know what I mean? That's just part of, the legacy, George
Yeah.
Atkinson, Jack Tatum, right? You hear about that tug game, Charles Woodson.
Remember, Jerry Rice was on that team.
Oh, I got to tell you, too, people forget, too, um, the whole thing with Gruden leaving, right? Because Gruden then beats them as head coach of Tampa Bay, right? You and I know that if Gruden gets them to a Super Bowl, if that tuck play went the other way, and Gruden goes on to great things, you know what I mean? Gruden probably is the head coach of the Raiders. He never leaves to go to Tampa. You understand what I'm saying? And so, of course, when he gets to Tampa, he knows the plays. All of these Tampa guys now, John Lynch and stuff like that, Mr. Niner now, they all talk about how they knew what Oakland was running because
Yeah.
Gruden, of course, had just left and, you know what I mean, knew the playbook. Hell, he was the one who put the playbook in and stuff like that. So I believe that tuck play changed history. We'll see if the Rams win, and I think it's a New England show. I think
Yeah.
New England dominates it. But if the Rams win, this could be the start of something big because I heard Deshaun, the wide receiver, what's his name? Former Giant killer, former Philadelphia Eagle.
Not Deshaun Watson.
No, right. Not Watson. The other Deshaun went to Cal Berkeley. Well, I heard Tampa Bay wide receiver. Fuck, I can't believe I can't remember the guy's name. Well, I'll say this. I heard him talk about how he wants to play for LA.
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson, right. And all I'm saying is they're loaded already. When Cooper Kupp comes back, that's a fully loaded cupboard. And all I'm saying is you got a lot of ballers, right? LA is a football town. USC, UCLA, right? Just recent Heismans, Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, right? Reggie Bush. LA is a football town.
Definitely.
If that stadium is as dope as they say it's going to be in Inglewood, and you get a bunch of ballers who say, hey, I want to play for LA, given that now players have much more bargaining power, right? Um, hmm, you're talking about a team that could be dominant for a while, right? Because you got the quarterback, you got not just Gurley, but you got C.J. Anderson. You know what I'm saying?
And
They got
Dominican Sue.
guys, and Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donald, Akeem Talib. You know what I'm saying? And so if they win here and they look dominant, and if enough guys say, I want to play in LA, just like AD's thinking about the Lakers, right? If enough guys say, hey, LA's the place for me, that team's going to be boss for a while. Same thing with the Chargers who move into that stadium with them. You know what I'm saying?
What are your final thoughts on the whole NBA thing going on right now?
Man, it's the Warriors. It's a done deal. I'll say this. We've all seen dominant teams. I haven't seen a team with this level of upside because as good as Showtime was in the 80s, they didn't have three-point shooters like this. Cooper, who won Defensive Player of the Year one year, he was their big three-point shooter. You know what I mean? They had shooters. Don't get me wrong. They had McAdoo. They had Byron Scott. They had outside shooters, but they didn't have this level of shooter. And it's like, to me, if I'm KD, and I understand he'll never be Mr. Warrior, right? It's current team. But if I'm KD, I realize I need to stay with Curry because the two of them together, I don't think we've had a tandem that good together. From the outside, it would be like Larry Bird being with
Magic.
Steph Curry. You know what I mean? No,
It'd
I'm
be like
talking,
Larry Bird and Magic.
You know what? Right. Well, Larry with Magic, but Magic wasn't the outside shooter that
True,
these guys
true.
are.
I meant the dominance and the power, though. The power shift.
Oh no. Right. If Larry got with Magic and the two teams were able to merge, you know what I mean? To me, that's what you'd have with the Warriors.
That's what I was thinking.
Right, because AD and LeBron are Hall of Fame players, right? Together, they still have no shot on the Warriors because I got to tell you, the fact that LeBron with Kyrie and Kevin, right, really had no shot on the Warriors apart from when Draymond gets suspended, and that's before the Warriors have KD and Boogie, right? Um, tells you that LeBron would need a hell of a lot more than KD to even compete. You know what I'm saying? And I want people to look too at Houston's numbers last year. They were historical. You know what I'm saying? But when they faced the Warriors, you started to realize the difference when they missed all those threes in a row. You started to realize the difference between their three-point shooters, Trevor Ariza, Harden, and the Warriors, who are sharp shooters from three.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? KD calls Curry's three-point shot his jump shot, right? The fact that the guy, in a sport where every percentage counts, is around 45% this year. I think he's 43 career. KD won't be able to find a teammate who can deliver like Curry has. Think about it. We're not even talking about Curry for MVP. The dude's averaging like 29 points a game.
People actually are trying to talk about Curry for MVP because they're using the numbers. They use the statistics of the numbers that Curry played without Kevin Durant or Klay Thompson.
Right.
They put those numbers. They put those numbers right next to James Harden. It's the same thing. The only difference is the usage rate because Curry doesn't have to be used all 4 quarters like James Harden does. Now imagine this. I'm just going to put this out there. What if Curry did play all 4 quarters all the time like James Harden? Do you not believe? You not believe that his numbers would, if not contrast, eclipse him?
Yeah, but I'll say this: Curry's won 2 rings. Politically, he's going to start to have problems winning awards, right? Because you have Giannis, you got a bunch of other guys in this league. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think, because Curry's on a dominant team, because people feel that very few players in history have had this level of a supporting cast, and because Curry has already won, there seems to be some backlash to him. Don't you get that feeling?
I do.
So, yeah, and so I just get the feeling. I know Milwaukee's having a great year. I don't think Milwaukee has a shot at a title, but that's one man's opinion. But I think the league, from a marketing perspective, wants to share the wealth a little bit.
If I may?
Sure.
Back in the 80s, what was the qualifications for MVP?
Ooh, man. You had to be a team icon. So I think Bird wins 3, right? Magic wins some. Jordan eventually starts winning some. You know what I mean?
And what are all those people to their team?
No, they were the man.
On the best team. So the best player on the best team should win the award. Am I correct?
You know what?
Things have changed, though, right? You see how that?
No. Right. I'll say this though. Don't you think that the league wants to shine a light on new guys? So it's like Giannis, for example, has been doing a great job his entire career. Now his team is the 1 seed in the East. You know what I mean? Kawhi Leonard has been doing a great job. If Toronto gets hot and takes the Eastern Conference, he's going to be in the conversation. You know what I'm saying? How do I vote against a guy who has the streak going that Harden has?
The first person in 10 games to have like 600 points or something like that.
Right. Outrageous. I think he's gone games where none of his points were the result of someone's assist.
Yeah, it's all the guy. Him.
Right. And so all I'm saying is, if I'm a fair voter, as great as LeBron was before he got injured, Curry, KD's having a great year too, right? All I'm saying is, how do I overlook Harden's performance?
You can't. You really can't. You're right.
I mean, plus Houston's winning games.
Yeah, you can't. No, I agree. I agree. I'm not
Yeah, I
disagreeing.
think he would have to get. Mhm.
Yeah.
Hey, I think our bandwidth is fading. What does it say on your end?
Oh yeah, we're getting there. So I guess we're gonna wrap it, huh?
Hey, it's a wrap for this week. We'll do this again in a few days. We'll do it again next week. Hopefully, we'll have more to talk about.
Anytime, Rich.
Okay?
Thank you for having me.
Oh, hey, you and I need to talk about boxing too, because I know you got some strong views on some fighters.
You let me know anytime, Rich. Thank you for having me.
Hey, come on, dude. We'll we'll do this again. Worldwide West.
Thank
All
you, man.
right, player. Thanks for coming out. All right, you got it.
Thank you.
Peace.